Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70 Millimeter, a podcast for film lovers. Every Monday, I'm joined by famous artist Danny Haas.
I want to talk about how bad of an actor Charlton Heston is in this.
And writer-poet Protolexis.
And it's like they didn't even, they weren't messing around. This wasn't a game. That was a real dress. It was gold.
And together as friends forever, we discuss recently watched movies. Later in this episode, we're focusing on The 10 Commandments from 1956. Is this the greatest epic ever put to film? Find out now. Big episode. We've been working on something huge for a little bit, okay? We've teased some merch, on our IG, on Twitter. We got our dear friends at Letterboxd on the horn. International long-distance call with our podcast godfather, Matthew Buchanan. We got him on the horn. Conference call. We said, how can we give Danny more work? That's what we were brainstorming. And from that conference call, long distance, we came up with a way to honor the great directors of cinema in a fun way. And that became the Director Pins set. Series 1. It just dropped in Discord right now. The image just dropped in. So this is a first wave. It was produced in collaboration with our friends at Letterboxd, and it includes 4 directors. Are You Sitting Down? Greta Gerwig, Spike Lee, Bong Joon-ho, and Stanley Kubrick. This is dropping Monday morning, and the set will be available. Don't worry, if you're listening to this at like 10 a.m., 1 p.m., you're safe, okay? It's going to drop at 3 p.m. Eastern on 70mmpod.com. There's 2 options. You have the set, or you can just grab your fave.
This is just series 1.
This is just series 1. What do you got cooked up, Danny?
3 series so far done in the books.
Excuse me. Proto, your vibes right now on this official initial set.
I have always wanted to have family heirlooms that I could give to my children when I pass away.
Yes.
And now I have them. This will live in my family till the end of time.
My goodness.
Oh, boy. So 3 p.m. Monday afternoon, we'll have a link on 70mmpod.com where you can get the whole set, Letterboxd director set, or you can just grab your fave director out of there. I think personally my favorite one so far is Greta and her hair. I don't know what you did with her hair with the shadowing on that pin. I don't know how it's physically possible.
Nailed it.
I don't know what kind of algorithms you used on your computer to produce that pin.
Just a couple clicks.
We don't have a ton of these. So if you want to get in while the getting's good, you can do so. And just a reminder, we have a Patreon where if you're a patron, you get 20% off of these pins. So the Letterboxd director set will be $48, or you can grab your favorite separately for $15.
Okay.
So thanks to our friends at Letterboxd for working with us to get this first wave out. We're pretty excited. Part if you had to suggest a director for one of these waves, would it be David Cronenberg? Are you pushing for a David Cronenberg pin?
Oh, wow. David Cronenberg.
Holding the little larva fetus.
I don't know. Who would I want? Who do I love? Who deserves a pin? Should you think about who's a fantastic director? Who's got a face made for a pin? I don't know.
David Lynch's hair, just the hair, not his face.
Wow. Just a silhouette of the hair. That's pretty good. Maybe, maybe my boy Tarkovsky.
Oh,
no one's ever seen him.
Mike in Discord is suggesting Ben Affleck for the director series.
Grugrux with the Tim Burton. That's a great one.
Yeah,
oh
Burton's
my. Okay.
A lot of love for Burton out
Let's
there.
see. I mean, Jim Jarmusch. I just watched
Michael
a Jim
Bay?
Jarmusch movie.
Michael
I will
Bay.
pay extra to send Ian a Nolan pin. Cecil B. DeMille is mentioned. Ian says he's unsubbing. So that's our big announcement. Go to 70mmpod.com, 3 p.m. this week while supplies last. And we'll see what the future brings. Proto, did you watch anything this week?
I did. Let's see. Let's look at my Letterboxd diary here. I did. I watched there's been a little bit of talk amongst the Letterboxd crew about this lo-fi sci-fi movie, Resolution, that I fired up this week. It's about, Slim, I think you talked about it on a previous episode. It's about a friend who goes to help another friend who is battling drug addiction. And he some strange things start happening to him and his friend. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't like it as much as some other people did. I know you gave it 4 stars. I felt like it kind of like fell apart for me. I think the most compelling thing about it is that it's really just 2 guys making this, 90-minute movie. And it's science fiction, but it's low budget and it's impressive what they're able to pull off. But as a whole, I just wasn't too moved by it. But it's good, 3 stars.
Probably just shoulder shrugged when he said the phrase 3 stars. Just imagine that in your head.
The shrug.
There was another 3-star banger you dropped this week on Letterboxd, and it was Queen's Gambit.
Yes. Yeah. I watched the Netflix series, The Queen's Gambit, that everybody's been raving about. And it had some really fantastic moments. But, it didn't totally work for me in the end. I know people are raving about, what's her face? Anya Joy-Taylor. And I think she's good, but I need to see her in other things because she plays Anya Taylor-Joy. Excuse me. Yeah, I got to see her in other stuff because she is so weird in this show that I don't know if she's like not good at acting or if she's so good that she plays just the strangest character.
You didn't see The Witch then?
No, I did see The Witch and I didn't really like that.
Oh, I didn't realize she was in The Witch. Yeah, I didn't like that either, to be honest.
Well,
I also this is a bad comparison, but I did see her in New Mutants. And
who's she in New Mutants? Magic?
She plays Ilyana. Yeah. She's terrible in that movie.
Well,
Terrible.
come on. It's
I know it's the New Mutants. It's one of the worst movies of the year, but
I'm seeing a pattern here.
it was not good. Like I was like gagging when she was delivering some of her lines. I wanted to jump out the window. Before anyone complains, my son wanted to watch it. Okay, he forced my hand. Familial movie watching. She's getting rave reviews from everyone else but us, so I think we're on the outs.
Yeah, so I don't know. Jury's still out on her. The soundtrack is fantastic, though. I've been listening to the songs from Queen's Gambit. So good. Me and my wife love it. So I enjoyed it enough of it to recommend it, especially as a chess nerd. I've played a lot of chess in my life.
Oh, really?
Having a series about chess was cool, although some of it didn't totally match up to, I don't know. It felt like dramatized in ways that weren't necessary. So some of it was kind of like cringy for the chess world, but that's just for me, a chess nerd.
Every week we're unpacking new facts about Proto that were previously unknown to us.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I'm like an onion. Just got to keep peeling.
Anything else, or was that it?
The only other thing is I watched the Christmas movie Claus with my kids I think that's on Netflix as well. I gave that 4 stars. It was great.
Wow. I
think that came out like last year. Really enjoyed that.
Danny, what did you watch this week?
I was on #film TikTok and someone did a run of films with great color in it. and a documentary came across that was called Samsara. And I gave it 5 stars because it's incredible. Samsara is a documentary that takes place in, I think it was like 25 different countries, filmed over 5 years and on 70 millimeter film. And it's insanely beautiful. It kind of goes from, amazing images of our landscape and our world to kind of dark and haunting things as well. There's some hard stuff to look at and hard situations that people are in. And then it kind of runs the gamut of some emotions. So I gave it 5 stars because it seems like an incredible feat that they had made this. There's no talking in it. It's literally music and, images, and it's telling a story, and you'll pick up on, the story of what they're doing. And samsara is a word that means, let's see, I wrote it down. The circle of death and the rebirth to which life in the material world is bound.
Samsara means all that. Holy moly.
Mm-hmm. So it was a great documentary. I really enjoyed watching it. I continued my Bond watches with another crap Bond movie called Live and Let Die. The only good thing about it was maybe the intro song, but then again, they kept playing like riffs of it throughout the movie, and I was way over it by the time this movie was done.
Just like Halloween.
No, Proto, don't do this. Let me have my Bond moment, please.
It's already done.
I gave that 2.5 stars. I didn't like that either.
Yeah, I'm sitting at 2 stars for Live and Let Die. Not feeling it. Not feeling Roger Moore either. I was really looking forward to him. And then I gave another 4 stars to Rise of Skywalker. We don't talk about that. Rewatched that this week.
There's no time. We don't have time to dig into that this week. We got a jam-packed show.
Movie. So yeah, that's what I watched.
Just real quick, I think towards the end of the show, not only is Danny going to reveal his pick for holiday month, but we will reveal the 3 movies that Discord will be voting for their movie this month. It won't just be exclusive to Patreon. It'll be the final episode in December, I believe. We have it whittled down from, I don't know how many suggestions we got, 35, 40 suggestions for what movie Discord wanted to see. So we have it down to 3 movies. We'll reveal the 3 at the end of the show. We mentioned Letterboxd and how I gave that 4 stars on Letterboxd. It's our favorite social media site. Every week we give away a free year of Letterboxd Pro, which kind of gets rid of ads, gets you personalized stats on the website for your daily entries, and you can see where your favorite movies are streaming on your favorite services. So this week's winner for sharing the show on social media is A2 Thewer on Twitter. You won a free year of Letterboxd Pro.
Congrats.
Not only that, but we're starting something really special again with our friends at Letterboxd. If you're looking to subscribe to Pro or upgrade to patron status on Letterboxd, you can now get 20% off when signing up on letterboxd.com using a very special code. That code is 70mm. So now you get 20% off if you wanted to upgrade yourself. You can do that anytime on the website. So do that. Support Letterboxd. Support the things they're doing. 10 Commandments. Cecil B. DeMille. This is going to be a journey for us. It's time for us to go through the memories hand in hand, side by side, leaving footprints together. Fredo.
The descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Hebrews, are slaves to the Pharaoh of Egypt. For 400 years, they have cried out to their God for deliverance, and now a sign has been given them of a Messiah to be born. In an attempt to undo the Hebrews' hope, the Pharaoh has newborn slaves killed. But in doing so, Moses, a son of slaves, becomes a prince of Egypt. Now Moses grew in stature and was praised throughout Egypt. And the Pharaoh made plans to pass his scepter to him. But Ramses, the Pharaoh's son, grew bitter and jealous of Moses and showed him contempt and his birthright of slavery. Moses fled the land of Egypt to Mount Sinai, and there he met the God of the Hebrews on his holy mountain. As foretold, Moses returned to Egypt not as a prince, but as a prophet of God with a message of deliverance. And God made many wonders of his might and power and freed his people. They passed through the desert into their long-awaited promised land, led by Moses, God's servant, and the giver of the law, the 10 Commandments.
Like one of Perdo's kids getting read to before bed. Just closing up the book and turning out the light. And I'm already passed out. Holy smokes. 10 Commandments. I said last week this isn't a game. You know, this podcast. We're going big. I don't care if people are coming to this podcast to learn about pens. They're staying for this, whether they like it or not. Bro, do you remember when you first saw this movie? Was it Easter on network television or otherwise?
I think we just had a VHS of this, and we must have just popped this on whenever there wasn't something playing in the house. Or I don't know how I watched it.
Wow.
I don't know when I watched it, but I watched it many times, to the point where, and I mean this, every single scene of this movie, I knew.
Wow.
Like I couldn't tell you like every scene, but as I saw it, it was like, oh, I know this. And like the lines were coming to me as I was watching this. But I haven't seen this in years. So it was amazing to revisit this, especially with like a more critical eye or just like an appreciation for filmmaking, which we'll get into. But yeah, that was my.
Was this a triple VHS? Or was it just double? It's got to be a double, right? You can't.
It's
fit.
a double, yeah.
Got to be a double.
Ben-Hur's a double.
Have you seen this in thrift shops recently? I didn't see this in your collection, Danny. This VHS.
No, I haven't. I come across Ben-Hur quite a bit, but I never see 10 Commandments.
Had you seen this growing up?
No.
What?
This is my first viewing. This was never. I don't know why. I mean, we grew up Baptist. Maybe because this was such a horny movie. Let's be frank.
Yeah, this is the
This is a
horniest
horny-ass
Christian movie in existence.
Unless they start doing like live action Song of Solomon, this is the horniest movie.
I mean, the amount of Nefertiti nipple in this movie
kidding me?
is off the charts. Off the charts.
Sorry. We can cut that. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen this, and I don't know why. Maybe it just wasn't a thing. So I recognized the poster for it. I've seen that 100 times, I feel like. But no, this was my first viewing. I think Casey had seen it. I can't remember if she said she did or not.
I think growing up, I've seen it several times on Easter, on network TV, no commercials. That had to be the way that I've seen it many a time. You know, we were always, growing up, we were all, it was church every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned before, altar serve of the year growing up, okay? Different time back then. Stations of the Cross, all that stuff. Hanging out in church, golly. Going through this again for the first time in, I don't know how many years, Pardo's right. Watching this with a seasoned eye, as opposed to just some kid sitting in front of our one TV in the house being forced to watch this, whole different experience. Mel's asking what my confirmation name was. It was Timothy, believe it or not. That was my confirmation name. I also worked like funerals every weekend, weddings every weekend at the church.
God.
I was that guy that worked behind the scenes to make sure the mass was ready for everything. Vestments, incense.
Keeping everything together over there.
I bet Mass sounded amazing too.
Yeah.
The audio in that cathedral that Matt worked in, I bet he had it on point.
My gosh. You kidding me? So it was pretty fun sitting down to watch this. It didn't feel like a 4-hour movie to me. I was kind of like enthralled. Visually, this movie is off the chain. Are you kidding me right now? Like the overall production design of this movie is insane, in my opinion. This is like what they classify as like an epic, like a Ben-Hur,
Mhm.
I mean, what are like recent epics that were popular? Gladiator, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, right off the bat, before we even get into kind of the visual aspects, is this the longest opening credits of a movie in history? Almost 5 minutes of opening credits for this thing before you even get into it. Danny, how did you feel? Were you like regretting this entire thing?
I think this was pretty, I mean, for it being long is fine, but it's pretty on point for these movies. The old Disney cartoons had crazy long intro title
that's true.
cards. So yeah, it didn't bother me for sure.
Proto, what's on your list? Let's start with you. What do you got?
Where to start? I think the first thing I noticed coming into this, having not seen it in so long, is it opens with the narration of like the creation of the world, but then it goes, the next scene, it goes to Pharaoh and his throne room, planning to make the decision to kill the firstborns or the newborns of the Hebrews. And this shot, like the framing of the shot is like a classical painting of just how like there's the Pharaoh on the throne, there's his advisors next to him, and everyone is like turned so that they're facing the camera. And they often are in this pose as if it's a painting.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, look at this. He's just making classical art out of this movie. And like, there's so many scenes like that with that. And they're just gorgeous. Like you were saying, like the production of this is insane. Like the costumes, are beautiful. The throne room is gorgeous, and just like every way that they place all the shots, I just couldn't get over the amount of like love and care that went into everything about this movie.
Yeah, even just like a random, not like throwaway scene, but one that stuck out was Ramses getting his like battle armor on. And how his like team kind of like brought the pieces with him, and everything was just so like formulaic of him putting it on. It was so badass seeing him do that.
It reminded me of that cartoon from the 80s, The Centurions. Do you remember that cartoon where they each had like holes on their arm and they'd stick their arms out and the armor would just kind of form on them and they'd become like a... Anyway.
Is this a Baptist cartoon?
No, I don't know. Sure.
How about Ian? I just want to point out, Ian in Discord said his confirmation name was Genesius. Are you kidding me right now? That is wild.
That doesn't sound real.
Is Ian a bot? Is this a real account in Discord? Machine learning, a fake confirmation name right now. My other note, besides the opening credits, Yul Brynner in this movie, what was his workout regime? I need to follow it to a T. His body as Ramses, his legs. He had like Andre Agassi legs. That's a tennis reference, FYI. He had the calves
of Anubis.
Is he just linked to a pair of women's
his sandals were unreal in this film.
His first scene, he's walking around in those sandals, one of those scenes, and I was like, is he stepping on stones? Because his like heels are up and he's not even batting an eyelash that he's like stepping on pointed rocks in these heels. But I guess maybe he did have some high heels.
He had some serious sandals on. Those wedges, my word.
This is like Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi wedges and those black boots that he had.
Can we not?
Don't you remember getting the action figure of Luke from Return of the Jedi from
the
Hasbro?
Action figure is not the same as what he
like
wore in the movie.
8-inch high heel boots. It was insane.
They're just boots.
I'm just saying. So in essence, Yul was an attractive man that I wanted to know more about in this movie. That's all I'll say. Danny, what's on your list?
I want to talk about how bad of an actor Charlton Heston is in this.
My.
Because I really thought he was the worst part of this film. Like, I love him in other things.
Soylent Green.
No. I think he's great in Planet of the Apes. I mean, I love Planet of the Apes anyway, but he's great in that. And I was expecting kind of liking him in this, but man, his scenes he's so like stiff. Like some scenes that he's in, it feels like it's like a stage play or something. It didn't feel like a film, but some shots are like, epic and grand. But there's moments where when he's on the scene, it's like, oh God, like this is just cringeworthy. Some of those deliveries, some of his movements, how close he gets to his mother. I'm like, come on now, this is not the right Bible story for this. So it's like, I don't know. I think I didn't enjoy him in this very much.
Pardo, how did you view Charlton in this?
Yeah, I heard that. So me and Danny, we also watched a documentary about the making of this.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little talk of that, of like him not being a great actor in this, but I love him in this. Maybe it's because I'm so familiar with it. It was like, I saw it before I even realized that, these people are actors, just kind of like, I'm so used to his performance. To me, it works for what it is. This movie is so epic. Like I can't think of another movie that's as epic as this movie. And his performance and delivery, it's like not human, but it's kind of like, a man set apart. And if there's ever a man set apart, it's Moses. He's a prophet of God who leads a civilization out of slavery and ascends into heaven. He comes face to face with God. Like all these things, he's like a person that's beyond any other human experience. So the fact that he has like this very deliberate delivery and like the way he like drops his words, to me, it works. And I don't know if they were playing into, because there is like an aspect of Moses in the Bible where I think they say like, I don't know if this is in the Bible or they talk about it, where like they theorize that he had like a speech impediment and that Aaron did the talking for him. And that's why like when they go to do the plagues, like he says, Aaron, stretch out my staff, and he does the work. So I don't know if they were playing on that a little bit. But I like his performance. I mean, I feel like there's some questionable performance in all this, like even like the Ann Baxter stuff as Nefertiti. Some of that I think is a little questionable. But other parts I love. Like I think she's amazing.
How about that scene where she dresses down Ramses because he couldn't kill Moses? She physically and mentally destroyed him in about like a 3-minute speech. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, she flays him alive on screen. That has to be the most brutal like takedown of a man ever. It's incredible, that scene.
I am Egypt.
Egypt? You are nothing. You let Moses kill my son. No God can bring him back. What have you done to Moses? How did he die? Did he cry for mercy when you tortured him? Bring me to his body. I want to see it, Ramses. I want to see it.
Initially, there's the Pharaoh is like going to give everything to Ramses. But then Charlton Moses comes in and like gives them a day's extra worth of food to the slaves. And they are all on his side. 1 extra day of food. And he has how many Hebrew slaves on his side?
Thousands.
Like what could they accomplish if they just give these people 2 days worth of extra food? Like you could get this thing built in half the time. This guy is in their view a god already, just by like giving them extra grain. Like I just couldn't get over that part. It was just so crazy to me. So him just like being nice to the slaves and winning them over was just like so crazy in my eyes. Like he barely did anything to win their favor. That's how like a bunch of S-heads Ramses and Kings were.
Yeah, there's a lot of play like that between Ramses and Moses, where Ramses is like the complete opposite, is like, you just whip them harder and you'll get the work done. There's no giving them breaks, then they'll get lazy. And Moses takes the complete other side. And of course it like works out for Moses. But there's so much great dialogue sprinkled in between there. The scene I love, like once it came on, the scene where he's placing the obelisk Oh yeah, the weights. Yeah, so it's like that scene. And I can't remember the whole thing, but Ramsey has this whole thing where he's putting weights and it like goes down. And then like the last thing Moses said is that
City is built of brick, Pharaoh. The strong make many, the starving make few.
the dead make none in terms of bricks. And he just puts the whole brick on the weight and it comes crashing down. Oh man, that scene is so good.
Incredible.
I couldn't believe some of the quotes in this movie. I have like a whole section just of quotes, and I wrote that. One of my notes was the weights conversation with the accusations tipping the scales. Like, are you kidding me with that scene? That scene is solid gold. I wrote down that quote somewhere, but even so, like, blood makes poor mortar. It's just like such a throwaway line. God made men, men made slaves. Like, there's so many conversations where they just go at each other, and it's just so tight. They don't spare any expense. They don't have any fluff in these conversations. They're just all so pointed. If you're, let's see, you're the right. I read the writing in this is insane. When your horses are tired, they rest. It was just like he's winning like all these conversations with Ramses, and I thought they were amazing. What the gods can digest will not sour in the belly of a slave. Nothing from some is worth more than gold from others. Like, stop it right now. Danny, what else is on your list?
I maybe it's because I watched the remastered version, but I thought the production value of the green screen work or I guess it was blue screens was actually pretty incredible for what they could do in 56. Especially in the scene you're talking about there with the obelisk and the weights when Pharaoh comes. The shots of them looking out over them building the city for Pharaoh were really impressive. I just can't get over. I just honestly can't get over what they were doing then. And maybe it's because mine was remastered and they maybe touched up a little bit, but still, watching, I mean, the cutting back and forth between the obelisk rising was pretty incredible. Watching it from afar, seeing it up close, like the stuff that they had to build for this movie is mind blowing. And I know I watched the doc today that Proto shared with us. That alone kind of changed how I looked at this film from a different perspective, because I watch it thinking this is matte paintings, or I've always thought of like, I come into like the Star Wars mode and these incredible backgrounds are just matte paintings or something, but they built this city in Egypt. Like I can't get over that. The size of this set that they built in the desert, where they not only had to build whatever the front of this was, the back of it had to house the locals that were in this. They had to have barns for their horses. Like, it's unreal what they built for this movie. And I look at it from a different perspective now, on different eyes, because like they actually filmed on Mount Sinai. Like, that's unreal to me.
I didn't know that.
Like those shots of the mountain is Mount Sinai that they went and filmed. And it shows, I mean, Heston walked that, which is, it's just great. I love little stuff like that. And it's, there's just so the production value, the sets, the outfit, when Ramses wear those suits with the wings across the chests. I mean, I just want to go on and on about how beautiful this film is. Oh, even Moses laying down his staff to turn into the cobra, that still looked so good. I mean, it was goofy for a second, but the best part is when he picks it back up. I
rewound that shot like 9 times because I couldn't tell the pause point in in the cast. I tried to catch it, but I really couldn't.
I was like, oh, he puts it down, it turns like, this is 1956 live action with animation, and then into like these Muppet cobras. But when he picks it back up and it turns into staff, I'm like, hell yes. That was amazing. Like, that was a little bit mind blowing that they could do that.
Yeah, when I was watching that doc, and if you asked me like how was this movie made, I would have said like, oh, they probably shot it in like Nevada or Arizona for the desert
right,
shots, and it's all the rest of it's in Hollywood. No, they went to Egypt and made this movie, and then they did. There's this part where they build a set And then Cecil's looking at it, the director, and he just points to it and he says, paint it. So they so every single set they built, they also did a painting of it so that when they took it back to the States, they would have the same exact backdrop to shoot all these other shots in. It was incredible. Like the amount of work that went into this, and like the concept art for all these costumes, like every single costume was hand painted by somebody.
The oil painter. Yeah.
And then it was made. And then it said the one costume that Nefertiti wears, I think it's when Moses comes back and it's like the full gold dress. That took 5 months to make. And it's like, they didn't even, like, they weren't messing around.
Yeah.
This wasn't a game.
That
was a real dress. Like, it was gold. Like, I couldn't get over what I actually thought like Jamie Kennedy was going to pop out and be like, gotcha. You actually thought this all happened. You're an idiot. I was like, how is this real? How did they actually do all this in 1956? Because we haven't even gotten to the scenes with the crowds. I mean, literally thousands of crowds.
People. The snake scene I had in my notes, he like when he first appears, he comes back to Ramses and is about to tell him that like, you need to free the slaves. I spoke to God. It's time, and I'll prove it to you. So he throws his staff down. His staff turns into a snake, you know. And then Ramses is like cronies. They're like thinking it's a trick. Like, ha ha ha, we can do that too. They throw their staffs down. They turn into a snake. I was like, what what is going on? How many people have staffs that can turn into snakes in 10,000 BC? Like, what is going on? And then the thing that really cracked me up was they don't buy it. Like, they don't buy into Moses' story. He walks away and he's like bummed. He's like, damn, the serpent trick didn't work. he's like wondering what he's going to do next. And I was like, that's your plan? You're going to turn your staff into a snake and Ramses going to be like, oh shit, free the slaves. You're right, Moses. So that was cracking me up.
I figured we could add in the conversation about Prince of Egypt, the animated film, because that scene with the snakes is one of the best scenes in that film for me as well. And Lat Daddy wrote in the chat, the Big Boys Now song is so good. But that animated scene where the snakes eat the other snake is pretty great. I mean, I love that movie too.
1500 BC, Art corrected me. Thank you. 10,000 BC. They were probably still throwing down their staves and making snakes, and it was no big deal to people. The other thing I was going to add too was he eventually does get the slaves freed, and they have to make the long journey. And I don't mean to skip too far ahead, but it was related to the snake business. But no matter how often he kind of performs like a miracle or a trick, for lack of a better phrase, these people still doubt him. Like at the end, they're going through the water. It's parted, the parted sea. And they're almost through it by this point. So he's got them freed. They're making the journey. He just parted all this water. And I don't know if it was Aaron or Joshua says to him, Moses, get to the top of the rock. They need to see you at the top to inspire them. I'd be like, dude, do you see what I'm doing? What other inspiration do they need to show you that this is real at this point? Like, I would be telling these people to go F yourselves if you don't believe me at this point, which he kind of does at the end with the tablets. But I was starting to get pissed off at these people.
Classic Hebrews, man.
Tale as old as time.
Joshua. I also love hearing people just say the word Joshua. Joshua. Joshua.
You want to talk about a man. Talk about a body.
Danny, what else is on your list?
Another talk about the incredible feat of this film. I was insanely in love with two parts with the water. The parting of the Red Sea is insane. Visually, it looks so good still, but I loved when back when they were doing the plagues and he turned the water into blood. The practicality of what they did with that was it looked so good. Like I was waiting for like that look where they like color maybe over the film and they just kind of turn it red or something. I did not expect them to actually like turn that water red, but also do it in a way that like made sense to where it would be like turning red, like where his staff touched the water, or when Ramses started pouring it out of the jug. It was so good. I mean, I love practical effects anyway, but I really loved how they did that scene when it just started coming out the fountains in the back, and it was great. I mean, so good. And then the parting of the Red Sea is nuts. Like visually. I'm glad I watched the doc that Proto sent today, because even when I first saw it, I'm thinking this is an incredible, thing that they've done. But to see how they filmed it, filming these massive, tanks being filled in with water, and then filming it sideways for the walls to be going up, and then filming it forwards and backwards, it was just so smart, and it still looked so good. Like you could release this film today, and I feel like, yes, it would probably get S'd on for, looking old, but it still holds up really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing that doesn't really look good is probably the Pillar of Fire.
Yeah, like all they have to do is just reanimate that. That's it. The finger of God signing or writing the scrolls is great, but I mean, yeah, the animation in this it's of its time for sure, but that's not going to age as good as the film does.
I thought the burning bush still looked pretty good too.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
I don't know
in
what
the doc they say it was an in-camera effect he used too.
Oh,
yeah.
Cecil does it again.
Yeah. Another thing interesting about in the doc, it was saying that DeMille, if something didn't look good, he wasn't going to put it in. So he had plans to do other plagues, but they couldn't do them right. It even shows this one part where they made like a mechanical frog, but it just didn't work the way he wanted it to, so it wasn't included. So if it didn't look the way he wanted, he was known to be like a raging perfectionist. He just skipped it altogether. But yeah, the effects in this are amazing. Another one that I love that is just so epic is the shot of the angel of death with the green cloud coming down over the moon. My God, with the music, I remember watching that as a kid, just being like, thinking like, this is the coolest thing ever. Mm-hmm. I just loved that. Terrifying. Yeah, absolutely terrifying. And still looks amazing.
I loved how Moses just like appeared during all these plagues, like, out of the corner. And he's like, hey, I'm back. Got a new plague.
Got a new plague
what was
for you.
I couldn't tell how much time had passed. Do either of you know how long the time period was of the plagues? Because it looked like his beard was growing substantially between like plague 1 and like plague 6. I don't know if it was like years and stuff that he was still trying to free the slaves, but it felt like some time was passing.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's out of my Bible knowledge.
But that was one of my thoughts as I was watching. It was just like, how does Moses have such easy access to Pharaoh? Like, can anybody just walk into the palace?
Right.
You can just murder him at any time.
him.
I mean, he already killed Vincent Price. He can do whatever he wants.
Oh, we haven't even talked about Vincent Price, who took no, changing of his voice ever. Like when he's on screen, it is Vincent Price on screen, which is fine because I love him. But his scenes are amazing. Like I love him in this film.
Yeah.
They should have just called him Vincent. Just to hell with it. We're just going to call you Vincent Price in this movie.
Whatever his name was, just erase it and call him Vincent.
Yeah, Mel, maybe now you need to watch it. Mel is asking in Discord, is Vinny in it? He is. He has a pretty big role in this movie.
Yeah, Vincent's in this, and it's the horniest Bible movie you're ever going to see, Mel. Watch this
walking around with that whip.
Oh,
you want to see Vincent Price walk around in a gown holding a whip.
God.
You got it.
What's he say?
I can flick a fly from my horse's ear without breaking the rhythm of his stride.
Like, can you imagine Vincent Price being that skilled with a whip? He doesn't have the form to use that whip. He has a Vincent Price form, and it still looks amazing.
Sandals.
Mike R. brought up in the chat the look at the tablets, and that was actually a practical effect they used as well, where they filled the words with gunpowder. And as the hand of God would write the tablets, they would light the gunpowder from behind and it would spark out the front of the tablets. Like, you don't have to do that, but it looked amazing.
Yeah, Mike says the plagues were about a year, depending on who you ask. I think I had some other quotes. The obelisk scene was insane. I felt like, and Proto had referenced the green flag to me in a DM as I was watching. Was it because of the green screen effect, or how the flag just vanished in front of the screen? That was funny. I thought Edward G. Robinson was amazing as Dathan. God, that guy was so swarmy. If I was Moses, I would have pushed him over a cliff real early on when no one was looking. Like, you're causing a lot of trouble. You're going to ruin this for everybody.
God.
Man,
love the guy that played Pharaoh too, or the original Pharaoh,
the old man, old white man Pharaoh.
I love
obviously
him.
A lot of white people in this movie. I mean, even didn't they just do they make a recent Egyptian Pharaoh movie like in the last decade, and it was still full of white people? They'll never get it right, even modern day. There was a few shots where just like the women hanging out, which I wrote notes for. Gods of Egypt, Mike said that was the movie. The scenes where the women were alone, like one, I wrote down a note that Moses has the best luck, like out of anyone. Like he has to walk through the desert alone with no food, and he just stumbles upon probably like the most amazing situation he possibly could. Like he gets a job as a shepherd and then has his choosing of 9 women. Like he's just falling backwards into good situations for him.
I hate to tell you this. It's not luck. It's the work of the Lord.
Why is the Lord giving him this good fortune that he has to leave anyway? But then like the scene where the young women discover him in like the bushes, he's eating, I don't know what he was eating, pomegranates or some kind of something
sexy.
And he's passed out dates. Thank you, Casey. And they're so excited to help him that they are like begging to wash his feet. Washing his feet is like the biggest thing that they could possibly do for this Moses character. I was just like, God dang. Wash his dirty ass feet. Come on. Why don't you just give him a back rub instead?
Well,
I guess that was against the law, maybe.
It's probably
for Jared.
Get stoned.
Anything else on your list, Proto?
I mentioned it earlier, but just the scenes of the crowds when the Exodus begins, where they leave Egypt. First of all, I mean, talking about making out good, they literally sack Egypt, where they're just hauling out gold treasure. They're like, the Egyptians are just like, had it. They're like, you can leave, take whatever you want, just get out. Mm-hmm. And this is another great scene where there's narration. So there's like narration over different parts of this movie, and it like breaks it up nicely. And it's also narrated by the director, Cecil B. DeMille. And I love it. I usually don't like narration in movies, but I feel like this is maybe one of the best examples of narration in a movie. His voice, the mixture of like actual scripture with just what's going on and like the passage of time was so good. And this scene where they're leaving, and it's just there's so many people. There's families. There's children. They've got wagons being pulled by buffalo, horses, camels, flocks of sheep, flocks of geese. Like it's just an amazing sight that looks legit in every way. And I love it. And as I was watching this, it just, for whatever reason, certain like frames like stay with you of a movie, but the boy like riding on top of the water buffalo was like seared into my brain for some reason. And like, as soon as I saw that, I was like Leonardo DiCaprio, like pointing at the screen, like, that's the shot. That's my shot right there. But I love the narration in this, and those scenes I just love that when there's just like so many people in the shot. Oh, you know what? Another thing, one of my favorite lines from there. So there's a line where this old guy, like this guy looks like he's 110 being carried by a guy. And they talk about this in the doc where this guy was like a well-known actor. DeMille had known him for a while, and he didn't have a line for him. And DeMille just said, you'll come up with something. You'll say something. And the line that he says, I'm poured out like water. My strength dried up into the dust of death. It's like, what? He just pulled that line out?
He just pulled it out. Crazy.
Yeah, there's a few, like the Mount Sinai shots were amazing, with them just kind of like hanging out with a red plume coming out of it, just having that like conversation. Insane. Also, when he comes out with the tablets against that red backdrop, like, come off it right now. So good. This movie is like Screenshot City.
Mhm.
Totally.
The orgy scene's great.
The orgy scene, I felt like that was like a 6-hour orgy scene. That thing was going on forever. I was like, where the hell is Joshua to protect
Joshua.
his people?
Just
He
hanging
was
out.
up there sleeping on the mound, waiting there.
How are you going to sleep through an orgy?
How do you not hear the orgy that was going on? How do you not hear them build a golden...
We talk about
statue?
Aaron's craftsmanship on that cow in like 30 minutes.
How much time did
The
transpire?
sculpting he took.
Wasn't he up there for 40 days?
40 days, yeah.
Yeah, 40 days. Aaron couldn't have held fast for 40 days. Like,
Yeah, Aaron.
come on.
He had
I'm going to
Dathan
go hang
breathing
out in
down
this
his
hut
neck.
with the other people that don't want to hang out with these orgy people.
Just
You
kick
know?
Dathan in the shin. That guy is nothing.
You kick his leg out, he's cooked.
Yeah.
He's not getting back up from
Sweep
that. His back's going out, leg sweep him.
Mhm.
His ass.
Love the shot of him throwing the tablets, cracking.
Yeah.
That scene.
That
That
was
scene was
crazy.
great. It's just that's just so good.
And he doesn't get to go to the promised land because he got angry at the heathens because he destroyed the tablets. I also had a memory, and maybe this is from like a parody movie, but I had a memory that he had two
Simpsons.
sets of tablets. Like he destroyed one and then went back up to get a second set. I don't know what movie that was from as a kid that I saw, but I just had that memory hard.
That sounds familiar to me as well.
History of the world, Casey says.
Actually, I think
maybe-
part one.
I think in the Bible, he's denied entry into the promised land actually because at one point they need water in the desert. And instead of like touching a stone, he like hits it with his staff. And then God's like, all right, you disobeyed me. You're not going
You're
to the
out.
promised land.
F you, God.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Jeez Louise. Cut him a break. You
You're
know?
out.
Cripes on a
God
crutch.
wasn't playing.
God, do your own dirty work. How about that? You ever think of that?
He did. He
Yeah.
killed his son, Matt.
That didn't happen for another
He sent
1,000
his
years.
son and killed him.
He waited after this. He waited another 1,000 years to come up with a scheme to
Listen.
save these people. Okay.
Time is irrelevant to God.
Time is a circle.
So I think those are all of my notes. Did we miss anything in particular from your list, Preto, that you wanted to hit?
Again, just the whole character of Ramses. I think his character hit me so much more this time around. Just the way he gets owned so hard in this movie. Really, and he's just a prince of Egypt trying to receive his due. And then he's got this wife emasculating him. And her speech, I wrote one of the things like, she's just like giving off like all the things that like, I wanted Moses. And every time I tried to give him anything that you wanted, he denied it.
Oh, that was crazy.
Shall I tell you what happened, Ramses? He spurned me like a strumpet in the street. I, Nefertiri, Queen of Egypt. All that you wanted from me, he would not even take.
He spurned me and he refused everything that you want. And like, that's what sets him off to go after the Hebrews. And he gets smoked by God, loses his entire army. And then that shot where he comes back and she's like, show me the blood on the sword. And of course he doesn't have it. And he just drops the sword and sits down on the throne. And it's just the two of them. Oh my God. Oh, another thing that I have to mention about him. This movie is so metal because when Ramses' son dies, he sits him on this altar of an Egyptian god and he calls him the Dread Lord of Darkness. Are you kidding me? That line was said in this movie in 1956.
Yule. God, just the way he carried himself and moved in this movie
Unreal.
was inspiring to me.
I don't think I've seen anything else with him in it, though. I talked to Casey about it, and I don't think I've seen anything else with Yul Brynner in it.
Westworld is one of my faves.
Wait,
He plays the cowboy that goes bad in the original Westworld movie.
I haven't seen the original Westworld movie.
King and I.
That's the one I've seen.
I haven't seen that either.
Which is,
Are we?
he did that
Oh.
right before this.
God, King and I episode? Holy moly.
I mean, he's amazing in this film. I mean, he's just incredible.
He's a specimen. Musicals month, Art says. Holy
Art, don't do this.
cow.
They'll do this art.
Oh my. Somebody take a note on that, please.
Shock to the producers.
Danny, what's your rating on the 10 Commandments epic film 1956?
Casey asked me this when we finished watching it. And at the moment I said 4 stars. It's not holding at 4 stars. After watching the documentary, this is a 5-star, absolute incredible movie. Like it's not perfect, but as a whole, this movie is incredible. I think I dropped a star only because of Heston. I don't enjoy him in this film, but that doesn't detract from how good this film is. It's 4 hours of like, I don't know. This is what you would have. Like if I went to film school, I feel like this is on a list somewhere where you have to watch the making of a movie. And watching the making of this film changed how I looked at it. So this is a 5-star, absolutely must see film, whether you're, wherever you're at in the world of biblical, whatever, religion, whatever you feel like. Outside of that, this film is it's absolutely incredible.
Holy cow. Yeah, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars on this viewing. I wasn't bored at all watching this. This thing is eye candy. It's ear candy. These kind of quippy conversations. You ain't seeing this a lot these days, those kind of conversations. So good. I loved rewatching this, to be perfectly honest with you. Pardo, what about you?
Yeah, I loved it as well. And almost 4 hours long, and it doesn't feel that way. Every scene was memorable. Every conversation, there was something going on. Every character's given their own moment. And just because, like Danny was saying, that doc is so amazing, and there were so many interesting things about it. But 2 other things, just rattling off real quick, is that baby Moses was actually played by Heston's infant son, who had just been born. And he actually almost drowned at one point in the basket. Like they had him sitting out there, and then Heston went to pick him up, and there was 3 inches of water in there. So if he didn't go over there, something, And he says that in the doc, it's a good thing I went over there at the time. And another thing is that DeMille had a heart attack at one point when it was 70% finished. And the 2 options was either they fly in another director or they just cancel the movie outright and collect insurance on it. And because of that, DeMille, at the time, didn't say it was a heart attack. He just said he was sick, and then he went back and finished it. There was they say DeMille, this could kill you, and he said, well, then I'll die finishing this, because this was his last movie. This was his life's work. He had actually made a previous 10 Commandments 30 years in 1927. So this is his second go around making this movie. I love this from start to finish. It's a 5-star movie.
Oh! Let it be done. 5 stars. Holy smokes.
Incredible.
Mel says he's going to try to convince Chuck to watch it. I'll tell him it's a Lord of the Rings movie. That story about the director reminded me of, remember when Peter Jackson, I can't remember if I told the story before, remember when Peter Jackson was doing King Kong? And they were doing Facebook video diaries of on set.
Oh, I remember
filming.
that. Yeah.
And he was so exhausted. He had literal exhaustion filming this movie that he had to call in director friends to direct the movie. And, disgraced scumbag Bryan Singer, who I guess was directing Superman Returns at the time. He came on set to direct a day or 2 of King Kong. And they showed footage of him having a conversation with Peter Jackson doing an interview. And he was falling asleep during the interview and just passed out. And they would just continue filming, or they'd end the interview. It was some crazy stuff. I don't know if it's in the making of King Kong. I've never rewatched that movie, but really interesting piece on set. There you have it. 10 Commandments. It's over. Unreal ratings for this film.
Yes.
Next week, we have to hear from Danny. We don't know what Danny's going to pick. There were some strong words given last week from Proto about what kind of a movie Danny was going to pick. commercialism, mainstream was tossed around in a derogatory manner. But Danny, are you ready to reveal your holiday pick?
Hold on. Yes,
month?
I am. I'm trying to pull it up in Letterboxd. I actually wanted to watch a Christmas film that I actually haven't seen. And I'm looking to see the star ratings for you guys.
Studios Ghibli's.
Yep.
Is it?
No, it's not. I'm going with 1946. It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh my God.
There it is.
Wow.
I've never seen it. I'm excited to watch it.
Wait a second.
Excuse me.
You haven't seen Ten
Rewind.
Commandments or It's a Wonderful Life?
Listen,
Where is
This is-
Casey?
this film.
What's going on in that
Okay.
house?
Oh
Casey
my gosh.
watched it
this
for the
is so
first time
great.
last year. So we're late to this. Okay. This is also one of those slimfluenced films. I didn't want to see it. Everyone went shut up about it. I mean, the star ratings alone, when I look at Letterboxd, I mean, this is a bonkers film. I mean, Proto doesn't have stars on this. Must
Your
be
money's in
before.
Bill's house.
Yep, I'm excited for. I'm excited for Matt's impressions. I'm very excited. So, yeah, I wanted to watch something new. It's on Amazon Prime Video. It's streaming
Yes.
for free.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, James Stewart has entered my life this past year more than he ever has. So, Jimmy, I'm ready. I feel ready for this film now.
Wow.
Oh, I'm so glad.
wow,
I am so glad you
This is
picked this.
huge. I'm
This is
super
great.
pumped.
I didn't want to pick something I'd seen. I didn't want to do the Home Alone route, Elf,
Hmm.
Christmas Vacation.
Yeah,
We know.
get it out
We've
of here.
seen them. We know
I
'em.
mean,
We're going to
you-
watch them anyway.
This isn't a game to us.
We're not joking around. I don't know
This
when
isn't
people
a
are going to
joke.
notice. Jingle All the Way. I wasn't going to pick that, Mike. I love
I mean,
that film.
This trilogy, can you name 3 bigger Christmas movies? Muppet Christmas Carol, The 10 Commandments, It's a Wonderful Life.
No podcast is doing this.
I was reviewing the numbers earlier, and this is going to solidify. This is the biggest month in 70 millimeter history.
Mhm.
You know, the numbers alone
Mhm.
for this month.
Off the chart.
Before we reveal our Discord vote options, this is a jam-packed episode. This might be a double VHS. Just a reminder, we announced the big merch drop at the front of the show. Bong, Greta, Spike, and Stanley, Series 1 of our director pins, 70mmpod.com as of 3 p.m. Monday. You could be getting there at 6 p.m. Monday, and they're gone. You know, can we even do a sold out option on the website, or are they just going to be gone?
Oh,
how does
I have
that
sold
even
out.
work?
We're ready. We're ready.
We're ready. I'm not getting any details besides we're ready for this.
Fired up.
All right. We have chosen the 3 movies that will be up for vote on our Patreon. Our supporters will choose the final movie for December, and they have 1 week to vote as of this Thursday. Proto, can you reveal the 3 movies that are up for voting?
You know what? I remember 2 of them. I'm blanking on the 3rd one.
I'll
I
do
even
the third
tried to
one for you.
drag out that intro to
Go
give
for
you
it.
some lead time to find it.
All right. 3 movies. First is A Christmas Story.
Mm.
The second is Rare Exports.
Mm.
And the third one is Danny?
Babes in Toyland.
Babes in Toyland.
Babes and
Keanu.
Those were suggested on our Patreon. Rare Exports, Babes in Toyland with Keanu Reeves. If you didn't know Keanu Reeves was in a movie called Babes in Toyland, boy, are you in for a treat. Watch that trailer.
Watch
And-
that trailer.
And A Christmas Story. So those are the 3 options for our Discord friends, the VHS Village, to vote for, 2 of which are streaming right now, FYI. The choice is yours,
It's all up to you guys.
Discord. I just realized we got voicemails to get to.
Oh my.
Good heavens. So if you're looking to vote for that, look for the Patreon post hitting your emails real soon. We got some voicemails. You can leave us an email or a letter or an audio file at 70mmpod.com. Let's get to the first one here. What do we want to hit? Let's get Steven, who we just missed last week.
Hey, 70mm boys. It's Steven. Not sure when you guys are recording this week, but wanted to get in a message. Loved the episode on Into the Spider-Verse last week, so happy you all enjoyed that movie. This week, you're covering a beloved by some holiday classic. I have to say, I love the Albert Finney musical version of Scrooge. It's probably my favorite version. As a kid, I liked the Mr. Magoo version. I remember the Henry Winkler version, which had some odd racial choices in the casting. I even liked the Bill Murray version. The Muppet version, though, it's not Michael Caine's best work, is it, bruv? It's no Muppet Treasure Island, I'll tell you that.
True.
But here's a crucial riddle I'd love your help solving. Why is it in every movie where they get together, Kermit and Miss Piggy never have baby boy pigs or baby girl frogs? It's always the other way around. Can we get a geneticist to look into this or something? Hope you have a safe and enjoyable holiday. Thanks a lot, boys.
Why don't we ever see any female frogs? Danny Dino?
What? No, I don't know. Why can you? No. Why isn't there a genetically pig frog either? I mean, how does this work?
I'm sure if you test the bowels of the dark web, you can find some answers to this.
Dark Lord.
Type your question into Reddit and hit enter and see what you come up with.
The Dark Lord. Harry Potter was one of the options on that vote too.
When will we do Harry Potter?
I know one former guest host that if he's not on that episode, he's probably going to send a really pissed off voicemail. He's probably on one of his walks right now, listening to this podcast in the morning as well. Scotty Young. Next voicemail.
What is up, 70mm podcast? It is Mike Rappin. Just wanted to call in for this week's movie, The 10 Commandments. Charlton Heston, Ann Baxter, a whole lot of people and faces that I think I've known my whole life as someone who's just been around media. And now I finally saw a movie featuring all of them. I just want to get it out of the way. I gave this movie 4 stars. It's a great film. 4 hours, totally deserved. There was not really a lot of fat you could trim. I mean, we could talk about the 8 minutes of opening and overture and intermission, whatever. But still, overall, I didn't think that there was anywhere that you'd be like, this scene didn't need to be here. It was all necessary to build up this character, this biblical figure of Moses. So I enjoyed it. I liked the first half. I liked the second half. I liked how it was split. I mean, Heston as a performance, not great. I really didn't like him. Thought he had no acting ability. Like, genuinely, the only bad thing about this movie was Heston's acting.
Thank you,
everything
Mike.
else was great. Even the bad effects, for the time, it was ambitious. And speaking of ambition, I mean, look at the size of these sets. Look at the number of people.
Look at them.
Look at all the organization. Look, they were truly trying for something great in this film, and you can tell they achieved it. I think there was a lot of moments where I was sat in awe at just how much was happening, and the scenes between all the characters. I mean, Ann Baxter, kill me. Like, she's incredible. Like, her voice, everything about her, she's amazing. I loved her in All About Eve. I loved her in this movie. But yeah, I liked it. But now after watching this film, I too have climbed up to the summit of Mount Sinai. I have aged 50 years. My hair is now beautiful and thrown back. My beard is long and gray. I too cannot cross the River Jordan. So thanks for that. But I guess to wrap up, we could have just watched Prince of Egypt. I got the same story. So that's on you, Slim. The end. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Prince of Egypt is so good.
Listen, I thought, how better could I turn off new listeners to this show with this pinned promotion than the 10 Commandments?
To
Thanks
test
for the voicemail,
them.
Mike. We're testing. I need them to know what this podcast is all about.
Thanks for the vindication, Mike.
The only thing in terms of cutting, I think, from this movie, I think some of the Lilia and Joshua stuff could have probably been trimmed if you're going to trim anything. But even that, I love that part, those parts too.
How about the fact that the crowd was so big that they couldn't shout action? They had to use a gunshot to signal action. They couldn't hear him.
It's disgusting.
Unreal.
It's disgusting. Forrest, on his review on Letterboxd, I have it up right now. Heston's "I've Seen the Face of God" hair is a masterpiece. Did they have a segment with the hairstylist on the making up?
No, they didn't mention it. Although they did say that the reason DeMille picked Heston is because his face structure matched the statue that's I think in like Rome of Moses. It's like, it's interesting.
Next voicemail.
Hello, 70 millimeter pod. It's Jose, also known as a vicious koala on Discord. I wanted to call because I have some pretty fun news. I started actively listening to the podcast when you guys did the Last Action Hero episode. And ever since joining the Patreon, I decided to binge every episode that I had missed. And I'm happy to say that as of this morning, I have officially caught up and I've listened to every episode. And I've been taking detailed notes because I have a couple of bones to pick. One of those being Slim's attention grab and horrible star review of Pan's Labyrinth. We're going to have to get to that. But because this is the Ten Commandments episode, I actually watched the Ten Commandments for the first time. And I finished that movie today.
Yes.
And I got to say, I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it. It's not really for me. Maybe it's because I'm not really a religious person, or I don't know. It's okay. I probably won't watch it again, but I'm glad that I did get to watch it at least once. But you know what? I think you guys are probably running out of tape, so I'm gonna have to call back next time with my detailed notes of each review. But before I go, I want to say thank you for everything that you guys have been doing. Listening to these episodes these last few weeks has been amazing, and honestly, I have lost count of the times that I've laughed hysterically. And it's been I know someone else said it, but honestly, this is something that we all truly needed in 2020. So I'm super happy that I went on this journey, and I'm so excited to hear more episodes from the very first movie podcast ever. Thank you guys.
What a voicemail from Jose. Good Lord.
Jose. Hearing that really is amazing.
I would love a segment where someone calls me out on my BS in a voicemail every week. You know? I need to get my comeuppance.
We don't have the tape for that.
You're right. We don't have the tape for that. On roll. Oh, Ian says, okay. I guess he's going to take ownership of that request.
He's making a list.
A weekly Ian update. Villagers only.
Final voicemail of the week on this big episode. Giant episode.
Hello, this is Dirk Feelgood calling in to 70mm pod. How are you guys doing? Are you all right? The 10 Commandments. I didn't watch it. I'm 42 years old and I'll be dead by the time it finishes. But I did come up with the 70mm 10 Commandments. You want to hear them? Number 1, thou shalt not watch bad movies. Unless you are made to by an overly vocal bullying Discord chat group. 2, thou shalt not expect Proto to pick a movie all by himself. And if he does, thou shalt not expect it to have been filmed this century. 3,
okay.
Thou shalt always expect Mortal Engines to be just around the corner, y'all. Yellow. 4, thou shalt not besmirch the smoochiness of British men and then later take it back in the hope that the sexy British men will vote for your terrible, terrible film. 5, joggers. That's all I wrote down for that one. 6, thou shalt always tune into a 70mm IG live feed. Proto is such a snack and nobody wants him to just be talking to himself for 10 minutes. 7, thou shalt not review Hamilton. And I'll look, Danny, I'm sorry I voted against you.
I know you did.
It feels good to say it out loud. I've been holding that in for a while. I just don't trust Slim. 8, thou shalt not discuss movie scene BLB. If it's not on there, you didn't see it. I don't care if it was opening weekend at Skywalker Ranch and Artie fixed you a mighty fine gin and tonic. It didn't happen. 9, thou shalt not make any host watch a film containing animals what act like people, folks who lick their fingers when turning pages in a book, and Muppets. And 10, thou shalt not risk Slim's wrath by recording a voicemail that is over 90 seconds long. Oh, fuck.
Dirk.
Old Dirk.
Unbelievable.
Gotta love him.
A lot of 70mm inside baseball there.
A lot of it.
Musical month could be right around the corner, Dirk.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Put your money where your mouth is.
Oh, man.
You know? How are we going to choose movies for that? Oh, God. Golly. What's Danny's pick going to be for music?
What's Danny's pick going to be? It's definitely not La La Land.
Speaking of sarcastic impressions, I watched The Most Dangerous Game based on Remnant Corps' suggestion, and that movie's from the 30s, 1932. Wow. And the main villain in that character did that voice, the Emilio Estevez made fun of voice. He did it like 3 times in the movie. And I was like, 1930s, and he's doing this? Oh my God. I'm blown away. Okay, we got to wrap up. This is a jam-packed episode.
Can't do it
Next week, It's a Wonderful Life. Danny's pick is official. You can stream it on Amazon Prime for free.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal. We launched the pins.
Oh.
Uh-oh, what?
Sorry, you made me think of Grace Kelly. And he tried to cast her for Nefertiti's.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Was she retired by that point? Or
no, she couldn't be loaned out from MGM. They refused to let her in the movie. Oh my gosh. Grace Kelly.
My queen.
It might have been too much. I think it's better this way.
I don't know if I could have.
I wouldn't have been able to handle Grace Kelly as Nefertiti. No one could have.
No.
I mean, you remember her in Rear Window. You remember her in Rear Window. Unreal. Don't forget to head to 70mmpod.com to check out the pins. If you're a Greta fan, a Spike fan, Bong, Stanley. The Stanley one, his face on that pin.
He's pissed.
He looks exhausted.
It's unbelievable. It's like he was just filming King Kong and he fell asleep in the director's chair.
200 takes.
Proto, any closing thoughts so we can wrap up this episode?
Oh, man. What a Christmas movie, you know? The 10 Commandments.
Bless it.
It takes me back. I hope you got taken back and felt some Christmas magic. And man, next week, are we going to feel some Christmas magic or what? I am so excited for what's about to happen to Danny. God.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for hanging out in Discord. Thanks everyone who bought prints this past week. We'll see everybody next week. $70mm is a VHS Village production and produced by Dale_A. Original artwork provided by Danny Haas and spiritual guidance provided by Protolexis. Prints and other merch are available at 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed and edited by me, Slim. You can support our Patreon for early access to episodes, discounts on merch, a physical membership card mailed to you, and access to our Discord to talk movies with other villagers. If you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to pro or patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount at checkout on the web using the code 70mm. Goodbye.